Hello and welcome to the Classical Civilization presentation for the Jersey College for Girls A-Level Information Week. I'm Simon Milner, and also with me is Mrs. Hopkins, and we teach this course at A-Level together. So first of all then, what is Classical Civilization? For almost all students at A-Level, it will be a new course, and I think that's part of the excitement for people coming to it for the first time. It's a course that looks at the civilization of ancient Greece and ancient Rome through a variety of different lenses. So we consider literature, philosophy, architecture, art, and so on, and we'll talk a bit about that in more detail as we go along. And what that means is we're taking a very multidisciplinary approach, and students can come at the subject with interest and enthusiasm from literature, from history, from art, from drama, and so on, and bring all these things together in new and exciting ways. And it means you end up with a really kind of deep and holistic understanding of these fascinating cultures that are simultaneously very kind of alien and remote from us, whilst at the same time being the foundation of so much of our modern world.
So as Mr. Milner has said, there's lots of different facets to this A-level which make it really exciting to study. And you can see that within the module choices that we have on offer. So we look at Component 2 and Component 3 in Year 12. So we're looking at culture and the arts, and our focus is Greek theatre. And within that, you study 3 plays. And a little bit about the Greek theatre itself, the physical structure of the theatre, and how that works, but a bit more about that in a moment. And Component 3, Beliefs and Ideas, we focus on love and relationships. And again, within that, we're looking at poets and philosophers of the ancient world. More about that in a moment. And then the final unit we study in Year 13, and this is the world of the hero, where we're studying 2 epic texts. We look at the Aeneid and the Iliad, and all the excitement and the action that happens within those. So, beliefs and ideas, like I said before, we focus on the love and relationships module, and what we begin with is a study of men and women of the ancient world. So we're looking at what happens within Greek and Roman society in terms of how these relationships evolve, in terms of what marriage looks like, in terms of the roles of women and men in society. Could women leave the house? Could they get married? Did people force them into marriage? Greek women in particular, how much control did they have in the household? How much of a role did they play in society? Men were allowed to vote, but were women? Within the Roman world, what happened with women there? Were they forced into marriage? Was it all the same kind of marriage? Could you divorce in Rome? Was it seen to be acceptable to do so? And then we look at poets and philosophers. So the 2 poets that we look at are the Greek Sappho from the Isle of Lesbos and the Roman Ovid. And then when it comes to the philosophy, we're looking at Roman Seneca and the Greek philosopher Plato.
Okay, so as Mrs. Hopkins has said, our second unit of study in Year 12 is Culture and the Arts, and for us that means a focus on Greek theatre. So this is the time and the place where comedy and tragedy, obviously genres we're still familiar with, are coming into being as we recognise them. We look at 2 tragedies, the Bacchae by Euripides and Oedipus the King by Sophocles, as well as an example of what's called Old Comedy, which is Frogs by Aristophanes. We look at these plays as pieces of literature, but also really crucially as performance texts, and we situate them in their performance context by looking at some of the archaeological evidence we have remaining of Greek theatres, and also, as you can see an example of on the slide here, the artistic evidence, the visual depictions of Greek theatre that we have surviving. So again, we're looking at it from a multidisciplinary perspective, trying to make sense of what did these plays mean? What was their function in the democratic Athens of the 5th century? What did it mean to go to the theatre in that time and place? And what does it tell us about the hopes and fears and so on of people at that time? Our final unit is the world of the hero, and as Mrs. Hopkins said, this takes us into the world of the epic. And what's great about this unit coming at the end of our programme of study is it draws together so much of what the students have already learned. So particularly Homer's Iliad is the absolute kind of bedrock and foundation of ancient Greek culture, and the Aeneid has a similarly important place in Roman culture. So students will now see reflected back at them all of these different kind of strands and themes and ideas that they've encountered, and suddenly these kind of texts that might at one time have seemed sort of big and scary, these long poems, are so accessible and so kind of relevant and exciting, because they can see the culture that stems from them. Okay.
So, in terms of preparing this course for this course and the kind of extracurricular or supercurricular aspects involved in it, there's loads and loads of opportunities. Obviously, the Greek and Roman world have been around for about 2,500 years, so that's lots and lots of things for you to look at, lots of writings on that that you can access. But there are lovely textbooks that go alongside the course that are really, really helpful. Obviously, you might have been to Greece on holiday or the Greek islands and seen bits and pieces that were relevant to the things that we're talking about. You may have been to Rome and again experienced lots of things going on there. But there are amazing museums where they do special focuses on certain aspects of Greek and Roman culture that you can go and see. You can potentially go and see some of the pots that we study in these places. And so it really brings it to life. But equally, if you just walk into any well-known bookshop, if you turn a certain way, you will see lots and lots of literature that stems from the Greek and Roman world. And it's so very popular at the moment. Just two examples here of the Penelopiad and Song of Achilles. So, there's a lot that's out there. You may well have read a little bit of this already. And our bridging work is very straightforward. You just need to read a book on Greek myth.
Absolutely. And there was a separate video, as hopefully you'll see or have seen, where some of our students talk about what they most enjoy about the course. We've got, just to finish up here, a comment from a previous student. What I would say is that we've been running this course for 3 years now, and we're finding that the students are just as kind of delighted and excited by the course as we are. We absolutely love teaching it. Students love learning it. Lots of our students have, having been first introduced to classical civilization at A-level, chosen to go on and study classical studies, classics, ancient history, those sorts of courses at university. This really could be a course selection that changes the course of your studies and the course of your life. And as we say to all of our students, if nothing else, we hope it gives you a lifelong love of the ancient world. So thank you very much for considering classical civilization. If you've got any questions at all, our email addresses are there on the slide. Please don't hesitate to get in touch, and we look forward to talking to you about the course. Thanks very much.